All right, everyone. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, on a Thursday night at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. Welcome into Miami Hurricanes Live. This is our 38th edition. Just about each and every one is done with Cam Underwood from State of the U. We are still awaiting for Cam to jump on, but it's about, 9 after 7. So I thought with a number of you on the line, let's see, we've got 44 comments already. So I thought I should address those and get to the live chat. I'll also, if Cam, for whatever reason, hopefully this is not the case, is not able to join us, I will open up the phone lines at 860-325-3687. 860-325-3687. I will post the number on the screen. Of course, the big news of the week for Miami football is, of course, their bowl invitation coming on Sunday night to the illustrious Shreveport Independence Bowl. I don't know who the sponsor is there. It's the Walk-Ons Independence Bowl there in Shreveport. The Walk-Ons Independence Bowl in Shreveport. Now we've got 29 on the line. Just want to let you know that we're waiting Cam Underwood from State of the U to talk Miami football. It's Louisiana Tech, of course, against Miami. Let's bring in Cam. Here we go. And a sip of drink. And he's ready to go.
Yeah.
What are you doing, man?
Yeah, sorry guys. I was just finishing up some soup. It didn't necessarily feel great, and had to blow my nose.
No audio yet.
Hello.
Still no audio. Huh.
Still no.
Maybe it's just me. Oh, it might just be me. Does everybody hear the audio out there? There we go. It's just me on the second try. How you doing tonight?
I'm good. I'm great. Sorry, I was just finishing up some soup and blowing my nose.
No
Mark
worries.
can't hear me?
I thought I was going to be fielding Miami questions for an hour.
Nah. Just had to go do that and, prepare myself. I had to go get a beverage, had to go to the restroom, because don't be here for an hour or some change or whatever and whatnot. So I just had to do all those things. But like I said, just was finishing up a little bit of food before I hopped on here. So apologize.
No worries. 41 bowl games, and this is the one that selects Miami at 6-6, Louisiana Tech at 9-3, coming out of Conference USA. They tied for a division championship, lost out on a tiebreaker to go to the conference championship game. Louisiana Tech, 6-2 in the conference, 9-3 overall. Was just going to give a look in regards to their one comparable game. Not that there aren't group of 5 teams comparable to Power 5 teams, obviously, but of course, a Texas game was in week 1 for them, a 45-14 loss in Austin against the Longhorns when Texas was in the top 10 at that point. All right, Cam, I know it's not what you hoped for, what you expected. Maybe you expected this at certain points in the season, but at 6-4, it looked like it was going to be better than this. At other times earlier, looked like it was going to be better than this. But it is a bowl game and an opportunity to finish the season out strong, give a good look on national TV, and do something that the team's only done once in the last 9 tries in postseason play. That's win.
Yeah, no, it's not what I wanted. Miami looked like they were going to turn things around there with those midseason wins against, some ACC opponents, including their 3rd straight win against Florida State. And that just is not what came to pass. So, it looked for a while that Miami was going to be headed towards this bowl game down in Shreveport. It is what it is. It was funny to me because the Sun Bowl picked Florida State before Miami got picked, because in that tier of bowl games, they go in order of who gets to select the ACC teams. Excuse me. And so seeing that Florida State got picked before Miami, at no point in this year would I have foreseen that coming to pass. But that's what happens when you decide you want to go out and lose to FIU for the first time in school history and lose to Duke, to back that up and make that the first time in school history that you've lost consecutive games to the Blue Devils. So, this is about where Miami should be based upon the 6-6 record, because you are who your record says you are. And a 6-6 team in the Sun Bowl or the Independence Bowl or the Motor City, whatever they're calling that bowl game now in my hometown of Detroit, whichever one like that, that's about what a 6-6 ACC team should be, or that's where they should be going. And Miami was 6-6, and that's where they're going. So Yeah.
That would be the Quick Lane Bowl. They call it now, that City Bowl in Detroit, the Quick Lane Bowl.
That's right. That's right. Down in Ford Field
They
over
usually
on the
grab
east
a MAC
side.
team in for that, some kind of combination of the Big Ten, the lower end of the Big Ten, and the MAC typically get involved. I don't remember who got selected for that game. I think it's a group of 5 and a Power 5. But
Yeah.
in regards to this one, what's difficult for a school like Miami is that in addition to having a lackluster season, you get matched up against the Louisiana Tech. And again, for those of us who watch football, and know the levels of football, there is just an automatic respect given to a Power 5 opponent versus a group of 5. Even though there are, I don't know what the estimation would be, there's probably 20 or 25 group of 5s that are better than a handful of the very bottom of the group, of the Power 5, the Kansas from the last few years, and Oregon State and Rutgers and those kind of programs right now. So you're going to be playing a better team than some of them, but there's just something about playing a Power 5 versus a group of 5 in that regardless of what Miami does, even though the athletes on the field will tell you, hey, that kid from Louisiana Tech was about as good a cornerback as we faced all year or whatever, there's just that automatic name recognition and lack of respect given by the fans and the fan base to say, you better go out and blow them out, or this is a bad bowl game and you should blow them out regardless of what the talent is. It's just all about the name brand, and Miami's supposed to beat Louisiana Tech. So,
well, I mean, but also, backing that up, you should beat them. I mean, sure, with all due respect, I mean, yeah, they're scholarship athletes and everything, but how many of those guys could have earned a Miami scholarship offer? An LSU offer. If you're in Louisiana, you're talking about, okay, like a Power 5 team. Hell, even a Tulane. Well, Tulane isn't necessarily. I mean, that's analogous. That's kind of pure level. But where's your LSU offer? Where's your Alabama? Where's your Ole Miss offer in the SEC? Where are those guys at Louisiana Tech? They're not there. Those guys, they're just not. And so, yeah, Miami has more talent. So you might have one guy, couple guys. Jalen Ferguson is the NCAA career sack leader after last year. He graduated all-time, career sacks. Cool. That's a guy who's playing in the NFL. Got it. All right. But that's one. You know what I mean? If it's not John Garvin, if it's not Trayvon Hill, then it's Scott Patchen. If it's not Scott Patchen, then it's Gregory Rousseau, who I should probably let off with. If it's not Gregory Rousseau, then it's going to be Nessa Silvera. If it's not Nessa Silvera, John Ford. If not John Ford, Jordan Miller. If not Jordan Miller, Pat Bethel. If not Pat Bethel, I can go on and on at defensive line. That's the difference. Though a team like this, then don't listen to the person who just made that comment. That's fine. You root for the school in the state, south of Michigan. I don't care. Go ahead. I know that Mark roots for that team as well. I know that he has a show about that team. Go and prosper there. I talk about the Miami Hurricanes because I went there. That's my school. I bleed orange and green.
There's a statement that doesn't make sense. It's that you're on listening to a show and you're going to comment that I shouldn't be.
Can't listen to it. Right. So then don't. It's the same thing like when I live tweet the various reality TV shows that I enjoy, because I do enjoy them. I love Below Deck Mediterranean, Top Chef, things like that. I love watching them and interacting with people on social media, whether it's at that time or otherwise. I have the new secret day job. So sometimes, if I'm working at night, I don't get to see it live. Plus, I like to let things record on my DVR, but then I'll live tweet it. 11:30 in the morning. People, I don't watch that show, and I don't want to. I'm like, I hashtag responsibly. Just mute the hashtag that I put on all the tweets. You don't have to read them. You don't have to engage with them. And if, listening to the sound of my voice talk about the Miami Hurricanes is that much of a chore for you, then with all due respect, don't. Like I was saying, though, before that diatribe, the difference between a Miami and a Louisiana Tech is they might have one guy of high quality caliber at a position, whereas Miami has many. And they're not even going to have one at each position. They're going to have only a handful on the roster. It might be one defensive end, one corner, and one running back. Whereas Miami has a stable of running backs, has a wide receiver room that's deep and diverse, and is going to get better with this recruiting class. You have quarterbacks with intermittent accuracy and up and down performance, but the talent is there to be bigger, stronger, and faster. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things. If you beat them, if Miami beats Louisiana Tech, you get nothing. You get no grace because you're supposed to. If you beat them big, cool. So you're playing to the level of your talent, which you did not all year when you lost to other bad teams. If you lose, then the sky is falling and everything. I mean, it is a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. Because if you handle business and go out there, nobody cares about it. But if you go out there and stumble and lose, like they did against FIU, and FIU is never, ever, 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 ever going to let us forget about it. And they shouldn't, because they should never have beaten us in the history of their program, which they never had until this year. And that's the kind of reaction that's going to happen from Louisiana Tech, especially if you build in the fact that Manny Diaz worked there in 2014 before he went back for his second stint 2013, I believe, because he was here 15, 16, 17, 16, 17, 18. No, it was 15. Yeah. 14, 15, 14, excuse me. I'm sorry. I'm talking myself in circles. Manny Diaz was the defensive coordinator there at Louisiana Tech in 2014. He leaves for a second stint at Mississippi State and handpicks Blake Baker to replace him at Louisiana Tech, who's now the head coach and defensive coordinator, respectively. Where? Here at Miami. So now you're talking about, Manny Diaz is 0 for 2 going up against his former boss, that being Mack Brown, that being Dan Mullen. Because Dan Mullen was his boss when he was at Mississippi State, Mack Brown when he was the defensive coordinator at Texas. So now you want to talk about, you now go 0 for 3 against your former employer with Skip Holtz adding to that because he's still the coach there at Louisiana Tech. Now you bring over Blake Baker, who took over your job, and whatever you want to say about that. Imagine the snark that will come our way after that. You don't want that.
So Louisiana Tech had one player drafted last year. You noted him, Jalen Ferguson, defensive end, Baltimore Ravens.
Boom.
One player in 2018, 3 players in 2017.
Okay.
Banner year for Louisiana Tech in 2017. 3 players drafted in 2016, 2 players in 2014, and I'll stop right there. So if you follow the NFL draft, you know that if you're drafted in the first 3 to 4 rounds, you should eventually become a starter, eventually a starter in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're drafted at some point a little bit later than that, then once you get to the 6th, 7th round, you're basically a free agent. Like you're vying for a job just like a free agent would.
Mm-hmm.
And so we don't have, I don't see any name. I see names that I recognize in this list in the last 5 years of Louisiana Tech players being drafted, but I don't recognize any of them as being impact players in the NFL.
And those are the kind of players that you're going to get from a Louisiana Tech, whereas you can shake a stick and find a Miami Hurricane on your favorite team in the NFL who's starting and starring for that team, whether that's Calais Campbell, who's still, defensive player of the year recently, first team All-Pro, Rayshon Jenkins for the Chargers making plays, Denzel Perryman out there as well. Jimmy Graham has been on about 4 or 5 teams. Frank Gore, the ageless wonder, who was a year behind me in school, and he's still in the NFL. I mean, it's just different. I mean, Allen Hurns was an undrafted free agent. He got a $20 million contract under his first rookie year. And he got another contract when he went to Dallas, got cut because he broke his leg in that game, nasty. But he just got another contract for about $9 million here in Miami with the Dolphins. That's an undrafted free agent from the University of Miami versus an undrafted free agent from Louisiana Tech who, nobody would know. I mean, outside of the fact that, I think, isn't that the school that Karl Malone went to?
Yes, Louisiana Tech. Yep.
Cool. Good. So you have an NBA Hall of Famer to your record. That's not going to help you on the football field. But then again, Miami is not necessarily a juggernaut on the field this year either. So talking about all of the guys who have been in the NFL and all the talent on the roster might not necessarily bode well for my squad either.
Yeah, I'm going to run the numbers on NFL draftee since 2010 in this decade, and I'll get that number out to you in just a second. So it's Louisiana Tech at 9-3, 6-2 in again Conference USA. Miami at 6-6, finished up at 4-4 in the ACC, 1-8 in their last 9 bowl games. Of course, the win against West Virginia a few years ago. 7-point favorite in this game. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. This is our Miami show each and every week with Cam Underwood from State of the U. So lock it in right here. Please contribute to the Super Chat. I will put the banner up there in just a few seconds to remind you to contribute to the Super Chat. Also, play.miamimoneyball.com. Play.miamimoney MiamiMoneyball.com. What you do right there is you predict statistics for the games. The entry is free. You jump on there, you play and challenge yourself and others to your ability to predict the Miami statistics or the statistics of your favorite team in its bowl game. And so leave your comments and questions in the live chat and we will get to them. Cam, you mentioned as you set us up for the bowl game and the selection process in the ACC that Florida State was selected to go to the Sun Bowl. They're playing Arizona State. Of course, Miami was there in 2014 against Washington State. It's still a Pac-12 ACC affair. 6-6, 6-6 between Florida State and Miami. I don't think there's any distinguishable brand.
They weren't 7-5?
Oh, did Florida State go 7-5? Did they go 7-5? They did.
I thought they went on a run after we got Willie Taggart up out of town.
7-5. I will see it here in just a second.
No, they're 6-6. Oh,
okay. All right.
That makes even less sense. Oh, okay.
Correcting the voice
whatever.
of college football here. My goodness, and I doubted myself. 6-6 and 6-6 for Florida State and Miami. And my question was going to be basically, in my sight, in my estimation, no distinguishable difference in the brand names or the recognition, anything like that in regards to elite versus good levels. So since Miami would own the tiebreaker in winning by 17 points, did you give any type of feedback or hear anything that was stated in public in regards to why the Sun Bowl made its decision?
Nope.
Okay.
And I didn't check for it because it's not like, in 2000 when they put the BCS had Florida State in the championship game instead of Miami, even though Miami beat Florida State that year and both teams had one loss. That was a thing, like afterwards I was going to be checking about, like, wait, hold on. I need you to explain to me because we beat them, and this is for a championship potentially.
Sure.
This, no, didn't care. It did come out, when the bowls were kind of getting leaked because, they like to do that. They like to tell, leak them out a little bit and say, okay, this is what we're doing, or this is where we're looking. And, the reporters started coming out there and saying, okay, this team here, this team there, whatever. It did come out that, the Sun Bowl was picking Florida State. And yeah, it makes sense. And actually, as I look at it, is that right? Hold on. I downloaded this picture. I need to open it up because I can't enlarge it from darn Twitter. Enhance. Sorry, I'm being a nerd. The Sun Bowl is actually above they're on a different tier.
I would think that the Sun Bowl is ahead of the Independence Bowl.
Yeah, no, that's on a different tier completely. So, so the selection happened before because the Belk, the Sun, and the Pinstripe and the Tax Slayer are all on that same tier 1 with equal weight. But they go through, round robin at that level. So Florida State was selected in a tier above even where Miami was. So it's even a little bit more egregious because I thought it was just as they went down the pecking order on the lower level, they picked Florida State before Miami. No. This is like overall, we picked Florida State in a different classification before Miami even came up in conversation. It just reinforces the fact that Miami tanked this season. It's just the subpar performance. Just this is another footnote along that path, or in that book, I should say. But yeah, man, it's not a thing that I really checked on because I have eyes in my head and a brain that works, and I saw this Miami team this year, so I cannot really, unless you're talking about the head-to-head matchup being the determining factor. It's 6 in one hand, half dozen in the other, honestly and truly. And Miami was there more recently. It's not a great location. El Paso, Texas, like I said, one of the worst places I've ever been in my life. So you go with the team who's been there less recently to try to make it more of a draw maybe or something like that.
Was this your analysis of El Paso, Texas, is this have anything to do with anything other than the weather?
It was just a miserable experience. It's just not it's just bad. It was just bad. At elevation, so the air, the weather, it was just yeah, it was wet and raining. It was on my 8th grade class trip. So we drove from Detroit to the Grand Canyon and then Southwestern America and back. So I saw a lot of America on that trip. It was an awesome 2-week trip. If you can do something like that, honestly, like God willing that I have kids, I want to do something similar with my children. And just, you see the interstates go from the middle of nowhere to inner city to the middle of nowhere and things like that. Yeah. So like, I mean, Grand Canyon, Albuquerque, New Mexico, that's a weird town, bro. Wow. If you watch Breaking Bad and you see like the way that it's shot with that green kind of hue and it just has that kind of off kilter set, like that's Albuquerque in real life. It's weird. It's weird. But El Paso was on that same trip and it was just, it was disgusting. Like there were some places that were not necessarily cosmopolitan that I'd been to on that trip and otherwise. Yeah, El Paso was pretty terrible.
Okay.
Yeah.
El Paso. It sounds a little romantic in some ways.
It's in the middle of nowhere too. Like you gotta shout out to Yayo, my friend, Sandra. But she went to the bowl game out there when we were in the Sun Bowl. And I forget where she had to fly into and drive like 6 hours because there's nothing by there. Like you gotta, it was no thank you. Once is more than enough for me in El Paso, Texas.
Although we're talking about Shreveport.
Right. No. But you asked me about El Paso because I brought it up because of the Sun Bowl out there. But Shreveport is not a draw for the day after Christmas either. That means you're spending Christmas in Shreveport, Louisiana. No. Although I did see somebody, a journalist, Manny Navarro from The Athletic said, excuse me, fly into Dallas, do Christmas in Dallas, and then drive over to Shreveport the day after if you wanted to do something like that. But my family is going to be here, the family that lives in Dallas, for Christmas, so I will not be making that trek.
Okay, not going to make the trip. All right. Grady1219, I'm going to get your super chat posted, but I hope that you are able to eat this week. Grady commented that he's not eating this week. He's contributing to the super chat. So Space Cowboy Maurice, man, this is a specific statement right here. If Miami had a coach, we would be ranked number 12 right now, or maybe number 10.
I mean,
not number 11 or 13 right. Or 8. They would either be 10 or 12.
Miami would be better with specific maybe coaching changes. I think that somebody who writes for State of the U just posted a thing about a potential offensive coordinator wish list or something like that. So my phone is going crazy right now with people texting me and DMing me about that. So that'll be fun for me to read. Just Miami needed to be better. Miami needed to be better. I don't know any other ways to say it. You find ways to lose games that you shouldn't. And with the exception of Florida, which was a hard-fought game. And look, you had to snatch defeat from the hands of victory there by giving up 10 sacks and going backwards so many times and blowing 2 coverages that lead to 14 points in a game that you lose by 4. You know what I mean? And you missed 2 kicks. Like, that game was there for the taking. And you had to have all of that happen. And look, credit to Florida. Florida's a good team. Florida's a top 10 team. I'm not saying that they're bad, but I'm saying look at all the things that had to go wrong for Miami to lose that game. Even still, like, man, the margins were so thin. Oh, P.S. by the way, Miami had a winning record against bowl teams at 5-4. Not great, but whatever. Had a losing record against non-bowl eligible teams at 1-2. And Miami was the only bowl eligible team that North Carolina beat this year. And North Carolina is not bowl eligible. So that's your one loss or one win for them against a bowl eligible team came against the Miami Hurricanes at 6-6. It needed to, Miami just needed to be better in pretty much every game, even the wins. And, hopefully we find a way to get there. I'm not even trying to make Manny out to be a world beater. I'm trying to have him be a decent coach. Miami went backwards this year. Miami did worse. Like, what are we talking about? I'm not even saying that Miami should be undefeated. I'm saying that Miami did not live up to the standard. Okay. And I know that you're a Florida State person. You don't know what standards are, but I'm here to tell you about them. Is where you look for wins and you chase those exclusively. Okay. Miami was 7-5 last year, and Manny Diaz came in here with the bravado of life saying that 7-5 is bullshit and that's not good enough. And that's why I'm firing all the offensive staff effective immediately, because we're going to be better. The offense was worse. The record was worse. I'm not even trying to say Miami should or be world beaters. Miami has the talent to compete for championships. Miami's one of 14 teams with a blue chip ratio over 50%, just like you guys. You should be better too. I'm not saying it should be a world beater, but it is not ridiculous for me to sit here and say that Miami should clearly, every single time that they hit the field, beat Florida International. They should have beaten this Duke team. They should have beaten this Georgia Tech team. That's 9-3 right there. If you don't spot Virginia Tech 28-0 in the first quarter on 4 turnovers on the first 13 snaps, and I went back and I counted the snaps to be sure that I was quoting it right, then you win that game and you're at 10-2. You don't blow a coverage on 4th and 17 against North Carolina, and you're 11-1. The margins are small, and I'm not even saying that all of those things should have come to pass, but they very reasonably could have, even in his first year. But he came in here saying that things were going to be different, and he came in as defensive coordinator and said that things, Manny Diaz that is, and he said things were going to be different on defense. And how were they different? Miami got to the top of the rankings in every good category: points allowed, yards allowed, tackles for loss, sacks, havoc rate, all of those things on defense immediately after Manny Diaz got here and said that he was going to fix things. Why then should I not have believed that he was going to improve the overall record for this team? Not to 12-0, but to improve on 7-5. But instead of that, the offense that he derided from previous did worse this year with his hand-picked, hand-selected staff, and the record was worse also. I'm not crazy for that, and I'm not thinking that he should be a world beater.
I've always thought it would be a fascinating experiment. It's never going to happen because of the obvious, but to take whoever you think is the best coach in the country, or, you know, there's not necessarily a best coach in the country. There's a collection of 5 or 10, whatever you want to do, but take those guys that you just, you know, when they go somewhere, Urban Meyer, Nick Saban, now Dabo Swinney. Well, although he hasn't proven it at multiple places, but Meyer and Saban come to mind, of course, having done it at multiple places. The type guys that just, you know, you go to the program and you just assume you're going to win a national championship because they've done it everywhere. That if it would be just a phenomenal experiment if, you know, those guys messing up my shots. If those guys just, you know, we were able to just to do an experiment, say Urban Meyer, go coach Kansas next year. Nick Saban's going to coach Oregon State, and let's see how they turn out. It would just be I think it would just be fascinating to see what would happen.
It would be an interesting thought experience to do something like that, yeah. But I think that both of those places, those coaching staffs, even in remote locations that have not been good at football, are better. You know, they're taking steps along the right path. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, they are. You know, I wasn't picking on those.
Nah,
way down for a long time.
Grady got Grady from Sanford and Son to his avatar.
Oh, yo, okay. I didn't notice that. That's tremendous.
Salute. Also, I read a long read about the making of Sanford and Son. You know that the gentleman pictured who played Grady was like in his late 30s or 40s when they did that.
Wish you wouldn't have said that, Cam, because I wanted to show myself to be as smart as because I discovered the same thing, because he is one of my favorite characters in the history of television.
Absolutely.
You know, there are others, Barney Fife, you know, I could go all over, but Grady, I think, is hilarious. Just a tremendous character.
Right.
And I'm just on IMDb, and I'm not necessarily looking for his age, but I'm thinking this guy looks, you know, you just think of him being some like 75-year-old dude and he was like 46. I'm like, what?
Yeah, he was like mid 40s when Sanford and Son taped. And like, if you've seen Sanford and Son, you know Grady, like, nah, he wasn't. Yes, he was like in his, I want to say like late 30s to early mid 40s when that show was on television. Like, yo, and I mean, and thinking back on it, that makes his performance even better. That's crazy. All right. Recruiting time. Here we go. Are Ronald Delancey and Gage Gaynor real takes for us, considering the current state of recruiting on the O-line at cornerback? Yeah. I think that both of them are moving into take territory, like with every second that passes. Miami is in, is not recruiting those positions well this year in terms of what they need, numbers and quantity and quality. And it looks like Devontae Brown, Selwyn Brown's son, is leaning towards going to UCF, which is the team that has been recruiting him the hardest, the longest time, and things like that. And, again, I say he's maybe a guy who needs a mango season or two before he's a rotation player at Miami, and probably the same thing at UCF. But, if that's the team that's been giving him love and everything, and, hey, Miami has not necessarily had a strong track record recently with, legacy players, sons and relatives of prior greats at Miami. So he's maybe looking elsewhere. And, Miami parted ways with Antonio Smith, but then you have Chris Morris, who's a 4-star, who is committed to Texas A&M. He's the one who said earlier in the summer at a recruiting event, actually back in the spring, that he wanted an offer from Miami. Said it like that. Miami didn't offer him until October. That was right before he visited Texas A&M and committed there. And Texas A&M, Jim Bill Fisher, he knows the drill, and he was good enough to block that official visit from this weekend. So now you only have 2 offensive linemen in this group. You're not probably going to flip Chris Morris because he's never visited Miami, and you missed the window when he's a 4-star All-American. So I don't know why we're not offering him to begin with, but you let that go by the wayside. So you have 1 corner in this class, you have 2 offensive linemen in this class, and you need 2 corners and 4 or 5 offensive linemen. That means Ronald Delancey from Miami Northwestern Senior High School, it's becoming time to look at him as a take. Also, Gage Gaynor. This is Corey Gaynor's younger brother. I thought he was a 2021 kid, but apparently he's in this recruiting class. And yeah, I mean, you need guys, and if you don't go get them, now what are we talking about? Back to the transfer portal. But that's a Band-Aid when you need, reconstructive surgery. If you spin the transfer portal forward every single year, you're going to do what Bill Snyder did at Kansas State with JUCO players, which it's its own kind of interesting roster building experiment. But with, and you've seen Last Chance U, they have the Jayhawk Conference out there with all those JUCOs in Kansas and the surrounding areas, Iowa, things like that. It's easy for them from proximity to go get those guys, bring them to K-State. You put them in the league, you put them somewhere, they get a degree, they go coach, things like that. It's different than at Miami. And even, the transfers that Miami got in this year, a lot of them are not, 1-year stopgap guys. Osman Traore is a 3-year guy. Asa Martin was supposed to be a 3-year guy, even after a redshirt this year, but he decided to leave. These other guys that they brought in on the transfer portal, Jalen Phillips, that's a 2-year guy. All these other guys, they're Tate Martell, that's a 3-year guy. Like that. Those are guys who were supposed to be here for a long time. So I say all that to say it would be interesting if Miami would have to go back to the transfer portal again. But at some point, you need numbers, you need quality and quantity. And Miami does not have either at corner or offensive line. So you're getting to the point where you got to stretch the definition of what a take is and what the defining traits of a Miami Hurricanes recruit and roster player are going to be. And that's a double-edged sword because you don't want to reach too badly where you get substandard players, but you also don't want to be bereft of numbers on your roster where one injury puts you in a negative situation. No, I will not Hurricane Zoe calm down. Ease up off me, bruh.
And sorry, I sometimes don't sync up and I'm not able to keep up with the comments. Therefore, some of them don't make sense, but I'm still going to take them to the screen. So Cam was on a tirade, probably like, let's see, that comment was made 6 minutes ago. 6 minutes ago, Hurricane Zoe was responding to something Cam said where he needed to calm down, according to Hurricane Zoe.
It's all good. Zoe got my phone number. He can text me if he calm down.
Grady, once again, thank you so much for the super chat. We appreciate it. Hurricane Logan, you are the man, always encouraging us, always supporting us. We appreciate your contribution as well. Hurricane Logan emphasizing another similarity between the 2018 Canes offense and the 2019 edition. He said, I think we're going to go 1 for 12 on third down tomorrow, and we don't even play. Third down conversion rate, Cam.
The worst in America. I mean, but then you have Miami is 120th out of 130 in red zone scoring. Was it 109th, 119th, something like that, in plays run per game, offensive snaps per game. It's just, yeah. I mean, offense wasn't. But I mean, it was feast or famine, and that Louisville game, we feasted. I mean, just nom, 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 nom. I mean, yeah, 6 touchdowns for Jaron Williams, whatever. But, yeah, the rest of it was not great.
Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, talking Miami here with Cam Underwood from State of the U each and every week. It's a Thursday night this week at 7 o'clock Eastern time. We appreciate you jumping on the line. We got to 183 on the line. We got the super chat available to you. And again, it's play.miamimoneyball.com. My producing skills have been awful when I've talked about the super chat. I've not had the banner up there. When I've talked about playmiamimoneyball.com, I've not had the banner up there, but I can only do so much at one time. I'm not chewing gum and walking at all. But this is what we've got. Leave your comments and questions in the live chat. We will get to them as soon as possible. Of course, we've got a game against Louisiana Tech coming up on December 26th in beautiful El Paso. And we've got National Signing Day
Shreveport.
1 week from tonight.
We're in Shreveport, not El Paso.
Shreveport. Yes, I've got El Paso on the brain from our conversation. Florida State will be there, of course, taking Herm Edwards and company.
Let's go, Herm. Play to win the game, baby.
All right. So, yeah, with National Signing Day coming up, who are the critical leans at this point, leaning in your direction or slightly in the other direction that you really, really want, that are reasonable gets?
I mean, it starts at the top. Justin Flo, number 1 linebacker in America. Miami's been recruiting him. They're going to recruit him all the way until he announces. That's just how it's going to go. I know that Miami's probably fighting an uphill battle behind Clemson and maybe other people, but we'll see. Darnell Washington, the number 1 tight end in America. Same kind of a thing, maybe a puncher's chance with each of them individually. Justin Flo's visiting USC this week. Washington's visiting Tennessee this week. We'll see where they go each. The Keyshawn Green from Escambia, who was committed to Florida State previously. That's a big-time target. No, he's not necessarily Justin Flo, but he's a rangy 6'3", 200-pound linebacker who can get from sideline to sideline with the quickness. So, yeah, he's another guy who's up there. He decommitted from Florida State last week when he was on his official visit to Miami, but I believe he's going to visit Florida State this upcoming weekend, or should be there right now, since official visits go from Thursday night to Sunday morning this weekend, or Saturday night, excuse me. Who else? Maybe that. I don't know, man. Are there any other really uncommitted guys? Jalen Harrell, the defensive lineman from Tampa, Miami canceled his visit, and then he committed to Michigan. And I believe that was probably because he was leaning that way anyway. 247 Canes, it's not my job to convince you that Justin Flo is coming here. It's just not. There are things to like. There are reasons that he could, but there's plenty of reasons that he might not. Obviously, there's going to be playing time. Miami is a city that he enjoys and feels a connection to. There's a family atmosphere at this program. There's academics that he can get behind. Great weather, just like Southern California, but more in the city than other schools. If you can get over the location, then, Clemson has an amazing culture. They are one of the top, if not the top program in America. Southern California is the local team. They are a prestigious program with a long history. And again, even if, like Miami, they're not necessarily winning a lot, they are still relevant. I don't necessarily see him going to USC, but that is a local team, and stranger things have happened. Just look back to 2012 with Tracy Howard picking Miami over Florida, which I predicted, but many did not, and for whatever reasons. But I mean, there are stranger things that could happen. Same thing with Darnell Washington. You could talk about wanting to go to an offense where the tight ends get the ball all the time, but there are other factors at play. He has a young child and a fiance, and can his family transition to that new location and live there in a way that he sees fit? As an 18-year-old already, with a child and a fiance on deck, maybe he wants to stay close to home, wherever that may be. So there are positives and negatives to each and every recruitment. So it's not my job to sell you on that, but yeah.
We talk Miami football each and every week. We slide it around a little bit here and there depending on schedules. So stay flexible, stay with those notifications, and I will get those out to you each and every week. This week's, of course, on a Thursday night, and 1 week away from National Signing Day on Wednesday, December 18th. Critical day for Manny Diaz and his staff to get Miami back in the running for a Coastal Division championship. All right. I am seeing no viable comments or questions coming in necessarily.
Well, I will just reiterate or iterate to you all something I saw on Twitter. Somebody asked and I said, okay, excuse me, that Romello Height, Auburn was making a late run at him to get him to take an official visit there this weekend. And Miami did an in-home visit, and Romello Height decided that he was not going to go to Auburn. For that visit, he's locked it down. He's going to come to Miami. He's signing on Wednesday. And I tweeted about that, and somebody said, is that a good thing? Yes. And, you want to talk about not having Miami caliber talent, because you want Miami to be as talented on the roster as possible. And no, Miami has not won a lot recently, and I get it, and it hurts me, and it sucks for me as well. But you don't want to go back and watch those teams that are bereft of this kind of talent. And losing a Romello Height, especially like we're talking about, if you're already reaching at corner and offensive line, positions where you should not be reaching ever, let alone at this point of the program, that should give you pause. So there's probably not anybody else at defensive line, and especially you let Jalen Harrell, the one from Tampa, go to Michigan because you say, look, numbers are tight and we have who we need at defensive end. But if you let a Romello Height, if that were to pass, if that would have happened, that he would have gone elsewhere, now you're starting to reach, and now you're taking the top-end talent off the roster. And we already know that Trayvon Hill was a one-year stopgap. He's gone. Jonathan Garvin foregoing his last year of eligibility. Gregory Rousseau, G15, might only be here for one more year. If he plays like this again next year as a redshirt sophomore, he's going to the NFL as well. That means you need guys to replace him. So you want as much talent as you can get. And I get that everybody's frustrated with losing. I get it. But let us not sit here and think that not getting the players that Miami needs, the caliber of athlete that Miami needs in this recruiting class, if we don't get that, you don't want that. Because we can go back and I can name names on non-Miami caliber dudes who played heavy snaps for this team in years past, and you don't want that. That's why recruiting matters so much. That's why when you force Robert Knowles into duty early as a sophomore and a junior, before he was ready, you saw the results. Now as a fifth-year senior, he's done well. Sure, he gave up that touchdown at Duke after he stopped the touchdown the play before on a really great play, really, really great play. But he's not out there costing the team points. But it took years for him of development to get there. But if you have now players that are not even as talented as he, think where they would be still after years of development, not as good as he is. And it took him a while, but he was a he was a piece of Play-Doh. He needed to be molded into a player, and it took time, but he had athletic ability. You want guys at Miami who have athletic talent. You want that. And I know that you want to say otherwise just because you're hurt about the goings on this season. Don't let the current state of affairs blind you from how recruiting and roster building really works, because those are going to be the people who are crying the loudest when you're watching guys like an AJ Highsmith or like a Nantambo Akil Fentress who shouldn't be out there, but they're playing 400 snaps on defense because we don't have anybody else on the roster to take those snaps.
Talking Miami football, we got so Alonzo Hurricane Zoe contributed $10. As soon as I find that in the stream, I will post that on the screen. Zoe, thank you so much. And Zoe, if you're listening, you're always welcome to talk Miami football here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Also saw Uncle Lou in the live chat. Lou, you are always welcome to talk college football. Of course, you know that right here. All right. Somebody was looking for analysis on the quarterback play this year.
Quarterback play this year was maybe a half step better than last year, but still not good enough. Inaccuracies and inconsistencies really killed both guys who played major snaps, both Perry and Williams. And again, both had highs. If you look at the Virginia Tech game for N'Kosi Perry, if you look at the Louisville game for Jarren Williams, those are great games. 400 yards and 4 touchdowns for Perry against Virginia Tech. 6 touchdowns, an ACC record, or tying an ACC record and a Miami record for Jarren Williams against Louisville. The highs were there. It was the fact that we saw enough lows to balance that. It should have been, if you're good to great consistently, or just great all season long. Shout out to Joe Burrow, who looked like dog trash when we saw him at the beginning of last year. And he was very average last year. Honestly, he was.
That bad.
Joe Burrow was average. He was 58% completions, 2,900 yards, 16 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, game manager.
Those were the
average.
Yeah.
Right.
He was also in a certain offense.
But you look at him this year, and he's a world beater.
The first week of August.
Right.
I get your point. Yeah, right. He's
my point is
years away from what he was last year.
Correct.
Absolutely.
But and I say all that to say, even for somebody who was average last year, he was great every time out this year. There was no Virginia Tech Jarren Williams game from Joe Burrow. No 3 turnovers in the first 12 snaps. Followed by and then the 4th turnover on 13 snap was on N'Kosi Perry's first play to Mike Harley that fumbled. You didn't have not one of those games from Joe Burrow. And that's where I'm not even necessarily obsessing about Joe Burrow, the player, but just the way that the season went. There were peaks and valleys. I mean, it was like the top of Mount Everest and the bottom of the deepest ditch in the ocean for Miami at quarterback this year. And you cannot be the variation or the variance between performance from week to week and a throw to throw and a play to play and a whatever basis, the variance cannot be that wide. You can be bad, but not terrible, not game definingly bad. But yeah, just Miami, it was not consistently good enough. And I will put that on quarterback and I'll put that on everyone. It was not good enough.
National Signing Day coming up in 6 days. Somebody's looking for the defensive end rotation, thinking that it's going to be different for the bowl game than it has been for the regular season.
It will be because Jonathan Garvin and Trayvon Hill have both said that they're sitting out the bowl game. So you're taking your two of the starting caliber players off of the rotation. G15, Gregory Rousseau is going to start. You're probably going to see Scott Patchen into some bigger snap numbers. You're going to see Jafari Harvey, I think, the true freshman, has one more game before he exhausts his red shirt. So I think he can play in the bowl game and be safe on that. So you'll see him. Cam Williams is on an academic red shirt, this year. So he's not playing. So yeah, I think you're really going to have, is there somebody else I'm missing? So Russo, Patchen, maybe move some guys around a little bit. Maybe Pat Bethel, goes outside a little bit. No, that's really it. And I mean, maybe you take a linebacker and put his hand in the dirt sometime. Sam Brooks, he was an edge rusher in high school, so maybe you let him go get after the quarterback once or twice. But I mean, yeah, it's going to be a different rotation because you're going to take those 2 guys off the top. So it will be a little bit different.
Everyone hit that like button. It helps us We
Please,
understand
thank
that has something to do with getting the videos in the suggested videos column, which apparently plays with the psyche of most YouTubers. You go to the suggested videos. I know that I do. They say
absolutely.
that people do. They're the suggested videos. They're right there in front of you. So you, oh man, that looks interesting.
Yeah.
And
And
so
if it
you
has
get
an
a lot of likes.
interesting,
Yep.
cover video or photo or something, then yeah, that's what you. Everybody does it. Everybody gets that.
And of course, the cover thumbnail for this particular show is scintillating. It's very intriguing. It's a shot of me doing something like this, or I don't know what it. I forget
Yeah.
pose.
No, it's all
It's my
good.
son making me pose. So that's what he came up with.
I
All
did
right.
see a question before I got out of here of how many guys we expect Miami to sign on next week, Wednesday, the early signing period.
Yes.
I'm looking right now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, out of the 20 commits, I know Willie Moise, he said he's not going to sign early. I don't know if Quentin Williams is or is not going to sign early. So out of 20 guys, that means 18 at this point we're probably expecting to sign. And then if you were to get a Jaden Francois or a Justin Flo or a Darnell Washington or a Keyshawn Green or I don't know that there's many other targets past those guys, but maybe, one of those other guys, you could bump that up into the 20s already, which, makes my life a little difficult because I'm trying to have a recruiting notebook ready for each of those guys that Miami signs next week. And I'm pretty behind in the weeds. So I'm just going to be up all night writing because I got to get caught up, and with that and other stuff. So, yeah, I think the vast majority are going to sign this week on Wednesday. And we will kind of reconvene after that because once you get those signatures in, you see where the class stands, then you can kind of regroup and say, okay, who's still out there, who might be taking visits, who may be a guy elsewhere who had their offer pulled for whatever reason right before they signed, whether it's a new coaching staff, whether it's a hesitance to sign early or whatever it is that Miami maybe could go after. So, like I said, it should be the majority. So 18-ish, depending on if the uncommitted targets sign. So we'll say, somewhere around that 18 number, maybe a couple more, and then we'll circle back after that.
Miami fans, you will love and adore me even more knowing that I'm talking Florida football at 8 o'clock. It's not live. It's a recorded segment, Florida football, that we will get out, and Ohio State live at 8:30. Two of your favorite teams, two of your favorite programs coming up. Florida at 8. And again, that's not going to be live. That's going to be recorded. So look out for that video segment previewing the bowl game and Ohio State Buckeyes live at 8:30 Eastern time. And then a bunch of records after there. USC, Florida, Washington, got to Penn State, Florida State, Kentucky, Oklahoma, USC tomorrow. A lot of good stuff coming out here. And, of course, just check out the videos. Check out State of the U with Cam, of course. And we'll try to figure out a time for next week to, of course, focus on recruiting.
Yeah, it'll have to be, after signing day because after this, you're not going to see me on the interwebs much because I have writing to do, but we will figure it out sometime.
All right. We'll see everyone at 8:30 Eastern time, Ohio State Buckeyes live.
See ya.